Everybody got the mics on?
Yes, sir.
We're going to call to order the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors work session, April 9th, 2026, 7 p.m., Nottoway County General District Courtroom. We have an invocation. Do we have somebody for that?
I'll do it, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bowen's going to do the invocation.
Let's go to the Father. Lord, again, we thank you for this time that we come together. And Lord, well, some people, the pollen gets to them, but Lord, we know it's new life and the changing of the seasons. And Father, we know that's your will, and we thank you for that. And we just special prayers for our farmers who are planting the season and trying to get things ready for the new season. Father, we also lift up the Maiden family, the loss of Wayne. Father, I know they have heavy hearts, but Wayne has done so much work up at the courthouse and been such a friend to a lot of people and a lot of departments throughout this county. So we lift their family up as well. Now we just ask for your wisdom and be with us throughout this meeting and as the week continues. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Supervisor Norton is joining us via remote this evening. She's home, doing well. I need a motion to allow Ms. Norton to remote participate.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passed 4-0. Ms. Norton, you there?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Good to be back halfway anyway.
Okay. All right, we've got an agenda. Everybody had a chance to look at it. Are there any amendments or changes to this work session agenda?
I don't have it unless somebody has any, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, we've got a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, agenda has been approved. We're going to go to, is this going to be you, Mr. Bowen, dog confinement? And
Yes, sir, Mr.
advertising?
Chairman. We're going to try to get through things pretty quick because I know the biggest meat and potatoes tonight is the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda.
Was that me talking?
I hope not.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Dog confinement and advertisement. Board members and Ms. Norton, I let this one slide through the cracks. I'm asking permission to advertise for dog confinement. Should have started March 1st. My clock just didn't go off in time enough. So I would like the permission to advertise for that, if y'all don't mind. And it
Was it March 1st or April 1st? I used to always think it was April 1st.
I thought it was March and then ended April 31st.
Maybe so.
Can you help me with that, Ms.?
No, April 31st, Steve.
No, 30. Yeah, thank you. Diggy. Oh, in all of May, so I'm wrong on that.
That's what I thought.
So we're kind of starting in the middle of April then?
Right.
Okay. Would y'all be okay with advertising for that?
Yes, sir. Do you need a motion for that? If so, I move to approve the public notice for dog confinement starting April 27th, 2026 to May 31st, 2026.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right,
Carried 5-0.
All right, Mr. Chairman, on 4A, that's that has been going on for a while. That is the annex building for some of the people, local people. I expect Mr. Wooten probably taught in the annex building years ago. That was before gray hair. Did I say that out loud? Anyway, no, I'm poking the bear. So I need a motion to accept that property. I think Mr. Elder, the firm, has gotten that straight. And
Just if you could remind the board, this is kind of old business.
oh, very old. I think what happened is they was giving the property to the county really right before I started, and and I think Mr. Ingram caught it, and some other people caught it that the Galubic Stadium was was all part of
in a gift.
in the gift, and we didn't want Galubic Stadium, so that's been going on for a while. So we're trying to get that settled.
So the board has seen this before.
Yes,
But the appropriate public hearing's been held for this as well.
yes, sir.
So I'll move to accept the gift, as you put it, from the school and to go ahead and accept this deed into the county.
Okay, I've got a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we've accepted the property 5-0. And Mr. Bowen has a discussion on uses, and then he said perhaps he might have a buyer.
Well, I reached out to Mr. Simmons, that is our person that with real estate that we had hired a while back.
He's our
And
RFP,
if
yeah.
it's okay, I don't need a vote on that, but can I just go ahead and tell him to start putting it on the market and see what comes out of it?
Absolutely.
Are we fine with that? Okay. All right. Mr. Chairman, number 5, school obligation letters in your package. That will be on the board. That's to make an obligation with that crew HVAC system. Dr. Martin he came here, and the estimate is $4.5 million. I think they're doing that project through the company Train. Just that would be there for you to vote on. I'm sure she'll be here at the next meeting. Of course, tonight is a school board meeting, so she couldn't be here. But I just got that in your package, so you can be. I have contacted Davenport, and we are looking at ways of financing that, as well as the remaining some architectural work that still needs to be done to the new courthouse. All right, but nothing to vote on. You can just solve that. If you something you want me to change, let us know, and we'll correct it.
And there's, I think we all got an email about it. There was some grant money that is forthcoming, but we may have to front some money and then get reimbursed.
Right.
But they were doing a good job with getting a lot of that paid for. I think it was over 50% of it was going to be grant funds. Anybody have any questions about the school obligation letter?
No, sir.
All right. Number 6, Mr. Administrator.
All right, Burkeville School, the cooperative extension. Let me see how I can start this. So the Commonwealth Attorney's personnel, her staff is in the basement underneath. It's right in front of, it's underneath the courthouse, and it's right across from where Christy Hudson, Commissioner of Revenue, used to be. In the courthouse plans, Ms. Hudson's old space is supposed to be taken completely out, and part of the sheriff's office is supposed to be taken out. Right now, Leanne Walsh has got some staff who, some of them, because they feel like it's, and we did test for mold, and there's a high content of mold down in that area. Also in the commission, and also in the circuit court clerk's office as well, but extremely high than where the Commonwealth Attorney is. She's got one employee who's having trouble breathing, having headaches, have one that is actually affecting their performance, and I don't want to get into details of that, but she has moved her staff in Christie's space. I've been trying to work on a plan this week to keep things moving, and the only thing, and I met with Terry Afson, I think she said she was going to be here. Terry's here with the cooperative extension. I'm asking, is it a possibility I could move her, and she's willing to do that, move her to the Burkeville School on a section over there at the Burkeville School is a little additional to the side. She understands that the handicapped bathrooms would be accessible to everybody and that kind of thing. And then take her space, tear up the carpet, make it livable, functional for the Commonwealth Attorney, because I would have had to move the Commonwealth Attorney sooner or later doing this courthouse construction.
They couldn't work
Right.
next to the
But
excavators.
the reason I'm asking you this, I'm gonna have to, at first I thought the Burkeville School might be a curse, but it might be a blessing because I need space.
Well, I
So-
think in her budget presentation, she was very positive about moving.
She did.
Because of the ability to have extra space and outside. And
And she's here to answer any questions if y'all, but she thinks she can make that space workable for her mission.
Okay.
Will y'all just give me permission to move forward?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
No. Okay, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a wonderful idea.
All right, well, I'll start working with her and we'll start.
One of the things that I also wanted to have the board work on with county administration is we've received our schematics. We still have county employees and constitutional officers down in Blackstone. I want to go ahead and see a plan that at the end of 3 years, 4 years, everybody's coming back and kind of where they are so that we can plan for that as we budget over the next year or so.
Right.
And that way we've filled the campus back up and everybody's back here and we use our space wisely and our money wisely.
I agree. That was our intent.
Yep.
Right. Especially Mr. Ingram, and we were, rest of us went right along with it.
Right. Okay, thank you, sir. We'll start on that and get things moving. And I think Ms. Walsh would be very happy with that too as well. One more, Mr. Chairman, before we get to that, if you don't mind.
You want to do,
Sale of the barracks parcel.
oh, number 7?
Yeah, I'm going to yield to Ms. Douglas. I think that we had a public hearing for this property. There was some clarifications needed to be needed before y'all would vote, and so Ms. Douglas has been working on that quite diligently here lately.
So last time we were in here.
Good evening, Ms. Douglas.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you guys?
I hope you're well.
Good, thanks. So the last time we were in here, there was a question about whether this real estate transaction would trigger any relocation assessments or requirements under the URA. After extensive research, I've determined that it is not going to. Basically, the county's sale of real estate to Ward Burton Wildlife Foundation wouldn't trigger any requirements for the county to meet. Basically, the county's sale of the real estate is not in furtherance of a federal project or a federally funded project by the county. Therefore, there would be no obligation on the county to meet any of those requirements of notice, reassessment, or fees. So
Okay.
that is what we have found.
All right.
Mr. Inge, is here, Tom Inge?
He's over here behind the board.
There he is. I had asked you at the last meeting if you could do a little research also. Could you come up and explain what you, there's an email from you today. What did your fact-finding find, Mr. Inge?
Yeah, so we did research ourselves. Also, we contacted the National Guard Bureau, which is the headquarters for Fort Pickett. And we work with the Navy with the same REPI program, Quantico. So reached out to REPI, Navy, National Guard Bureau, and everybody indicates that REPI does not trigger any relocation costs with that act, Uniform Relocation Act. So as far as we know, it does not.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Inge.
Mr. Chairman, in your package, there's a chart, there's no names, just so you'll know, because that sparked a little research on my end too. And I had met with the Commissioner of Revenue. It looks like that it's 19, we can call them trailers, or you can call them RVs. There's 19 RVs out there, which we consider personal property. 3 of those 19 have actually been paying taxes. 4 is getting ready to start paying taxes now that we know about it, and the rest of them has never, ever paid property tax for Nottoway County.
Mr. Chairman, did I read correctly that only 35% of potential 100% of tax assessment out there was even being?
That's what the numbers, Mr. Bowen was just, your percentage, and he was talking numbers. So that's the same data.
Same situation.
Same data.
So I'm trying to understand where the economic engine was out there.
Hard to find.
There wasn't one.
Okay, all right.
Lost. So we had a public hearing on this. We had some discussion, went back and forth on the vote, and it ended up here at the work session. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Norton, any further discussion?
Ms. Norton, you there?
I'm good. I'm good.
No discussion? Okay. All right, so I entertain a motion to accept the Ward Burton Wildlife Foundation's offer of $700,000 for the advertised parcel. We're calling it the barracks parcel. Anybody make that
So
motion?
moved.
I'll second.
Okay, so we roll call? Mr. Bowen, you want to roll call us?
I think it would be good if you roll call, sir.
All right, would you roll call us, please?
Okay, we got a motion on the floor to sell the parcel of the barracks parcel. We consider it, we're calling it verbally, and for $700,000 to the Ward Burton Foundation. Mr. Roy, do you?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Ingram,
Aye.
Ms. Norton,
Aye.
Mr. Toth,
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, it's a 5-0 vote to sell that property to the Ward Burton Foundation for $700,000.
Okay.
Chairman, that's the public hearing for the Ampliform sighting.
I've got the sign-up sheet up here for Rocky Ford Solar Siting Agreement Public Hearing. Is there anybody that did not have their name on this that wishes to have their name on?
Do you want me to put this letter on now? It's Reynolds?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Letter from a Reynolds family.
Okay, letter from Reynolds.
Yes. Well, actually, they're sisters to the registrar, Rodney Reynolds. Their maiden name was Reynolds, but they're in that area.
I think it was in all our emails, wasn't it? Is that-
I don't know if that made it or not.
Yes, I've read it, yeah.
Okay.
But just want to read it to the public,
Yeah,
right?
that's fine,
Okay.
that's submitted email. I don't see anybody raising their hand, so we're gonna take a motion to open the public hearing for the Ampliform Siting Agreement.
So moved.
As part of that, I have to read my disclosure in regards to my employer. This is a declaration of interest with respect to the Rocky Ford Solar Project. This declaration is made with respect to the transaction in which a supervisor of the county board of supervisors has a personal interest in a transaction involving the county and the applicable exception which permits said supervisor's participation. The Virginia State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act, in accordance with section 2.2-3112B1, requires this disclosure to be recorded in the county records in any case in which I have a personal interest in a transaction, but my participation is permissible. Therefore, I make the following disclosure. The transaction involved is pursuant to Virginia Code 58.1-2636. The Board of Supervisors and Ampliform Rocky Ford LLC are negotiating a siting agreement for a solar project facility and application for a special exception permit by Northwest Rocky Ford LLC for a solar facility within Nottoway County, Virginia. My personal interest affected by this transaction is as follows. The above referenced transaction by the Board of Supervisors will involve the approval of a special exception permit for the construction of a solar facility project within Nottoway County. My employer, Citizens Bank and Trust, holds deeds of trust on several parcels that are being considered as part of the solar project. However, in accordance with section 2.2-311B1, because the application includes a group of 3 or more persons affected by the transaction, including multiple landowners, participation is permitted upon this declaration. I will be able to participate in the transaction fairly, objectively, and in the furtherance of public interest. That being said, I have a motion.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second?
I'll
to open the
second.
hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're opening the public hearing. And we'll start. Miss Beverly Ames, Blackstone, Virginia. And we're going to do 5 minutes if you need it.
Pardon me?
We'll do 5 minutes if you need it.
No, I tried to keep it short.
Okay.
Thank you guys for listening to me today. I recognize that the previous longstanding Board of Supervisors appeared to have ignored the financial future issues within the county and failed to look for ways to address the upcoming needs and build a revenue reserve. They did not research revenue products such as industry, tourism, solar, healthcare, and education. Looking back about 10 years ago, had the county better prepared financially for what we're facing now, or even better, these, excuse me, these issues would have been handled in a more timely manner and not dropped onto this board's lap. The financial education and job opportunities offered by industrial solar can be a boon to rural counties of Virginia. They offer large financial benefits as well as tax payments over the course of their contracts. They also bring an additional taxes, fees, and expenses from other businesses involved in the construction and maintenance of the industrial solar projects. They offer opportunities for education and better paying jobs for local citizens, thus providing a boon to our local economies. Excuse me. Concern for land usage and waste is a vital issue to the solar companies. These companies are constantly researching the best ways to improve the land, protect water sources, and improve the natural environments, especially post-decommissioning. They have been redesigning, researching, and developing newer, better, and more effective panels and construction materials, putting environmental reactions, conservation, and public concerns first. They also want to be invested in the communities that they are serving. Communication is key in this relationship, so please keep those lines open. The process for industrial solar projects, from researching a site to completion of the construction and starting production, can be more than 3 years. depending on the size of the project. That means that approval of the siting agreement and receiving of the first payments can take months to years. Go back to what I said at the very beginning. This should have been taken care of years ago. As I said earlier, previous siting goes back, had this county board been more proactive, this county might not have to raise taxes. We could have better job opportunities for our citizens, stronger educational standards, and more health care, increased businesses and industries, and better use of the commercial properties. I appreciate the board's interest in improving Nottoway County and its future, but would it have not been better to walk into the board with the research and developments and necessary ordinances at least under construction, instead of having to dig your way out of the quicksand to do all of the work and fix that issue that should not have gotten into the point that we are at now? Thank you for your work, your time, and your efforts for our county, and seriously look at all of the advantages of solar and the future of Nottoway. Now, I did check into the education that I've been talking about, and I was told to call back after the 15th of April out at SVCC. They originally had a program that was supposed to be in service out there, and that is no longer available. Dr. Patton and I will be talking about creating one. So we would be able to serve and educate in this region.
So that was a change, because that last I heard it was still, that's been 2 months
Shine.
ago.
The Shine program, yeah. I've been trying to reach out to David Peterson with Shine, and he's not returning any calls and will not email me.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ames. Mr. Sonny Abbott?
Mr. Chairman, I believe Mr. Abbott is playing hooky from the school board.
He is.
You're absolutely correct.
They're operating without supervision.
I respectfully request that you see me as a resident of the county and not in any other capacity. This hearing is to discuss the siting agreement. I was told that a public hearing wasn't required for the performance agreement. However, they go hand in hand. In my attempt to fully understand both the performance agreement and the siting agreement, I made several attempts, or my due diligence, to obtain accurate information. I respectfully ask the county administrators to explain the grant. The grant portion of the performance agreement, since it takes approximately 2.5 pages to outline it. Finally, my request was taken as a FOIA request, and I received a response, I'm told, from the attorney that wrote the performance agreement, although I have no way of confirming that. In part, that attorney wrote, and I'll be quoting, so these are quotes, grant question. It depends. Revenue share to be rebated at $9,157,849.50. He added, net present value of $2,432,410.55. He went on to say, net present value was assuming a 7.5% discount rate. Then he went on to list rebate, now rebate, of real estate tax is sketchier. Now there's a legal term that you usually don't hear. Sketchier, with a cap of $2,250,000 in the first 25 years. He thinks it will be $1,300,000. He finished his statement with, now I'm quoting, that's completely swag. Do you know what swag stands for? I look by the expressions on your face, you don't.
I have my definition, but I don't wish to say it.
Street term.
I will tell you what I was informed it means, because I had no idea. And I'll apologize to everyone that hears what I'm about to say.
Uh-oh, it was mine.
Scientific, wild-ass guess.
Oh, that won't mine.
No, I wouldn't.
So I guess this was all a wild guess. The attorney, author of the performance agreement, in my humble opinion, lacks professionalism, since terms like "it depends," "sketchier," "swag," and "assume," and what he thinks seems to be just what I would consider outside traditional attorney terms. Now, as part of my diligence, I emailed 2 board members of the Finance Committee, Mrs. Norton and Mr. Ingram, asking them to explain the numbers outlined in the attorney's FOIA response. I give some latitude to Ms. Norton due to her medical issues. Please note, I didn't receive a response from either member.
Because I couldn't figure out what it meant either.
Could it be because no one, not any of you, understand how to develop accurate numbers for the annual grant? Now, the site agreement. Setbacks II, less than 1,200 feet from a habitable dwelling. This statement effectively means nothing.
You're right.
The only limiting issue is the 75 feet from a property line. I believe there are in excess of 70 parcels or properties that will fall within this less than 1,200 feet, with some being less than 200 feet setback to equipment. As I mentioned, the performance agreement is a critical element of the site agreement. Note page 2. Second whereas, and element 2.3, incentives in part reads, is expressly contingent upon the continued effectiveness of that certain performance agreement. In this agreement, the less than 1,200 feet setback from a habitable dwelling and the unknown grant cost suggest this agreement should fail, absolutely fail, in its current form. A full and complete understanding of the annual cost to the county and an acceptable setback from a habitable dwelling are a must. It has been stated numbers of times that we need the $8 million to offset the cost of the courthouse lawsuit. These rebates of real estate taxes and revenue sharing dollars in each year needs to be clearly understood. Addressing the setbacks from a residence requires consideration. If these items aren't addressed completely, then I strongly suggest that this fails until the performance and site agreements are in the best interest of the citizens of Nottoway County. Those numbers quoted, 9.1 million, 2.25 million, even if it's down to 1.3 million, even if it's $1 million, take that for 25 years, that's $25 million. Not counting any of the others, and you're going to get $8 million up front? Big deal. Please, fail this, work on it, understand. Each and every one of you need to understand what the grant means in total dollars to the county. Thank you. Now I'm going back to my other job.
Thank you, son.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
Thank you, Sonny.
Mr. Ray Jennings.
Afternoon.
Good evening, sir.
I'd like to tell you solar is a godsend for the farmers and ranchers. If not for the solar water pumps, they wouldn't be able to get water to the cattle and maybe to the fields. Sometimes they irrigate. They make jet fuel with a certified catalyst, sun power, sunlight, water, and CO2 converts to jet fuel, kerosene, through the catalyst. California, they're putting all solar panels on their channels. Got 4,000 miles of channels. Annually, it's going to save them 63 billion gallons of water annually. You know, it's 20 foot wide. It's going to produce, at the end, 13 gigawatts of power. They get that in their pocket. All right, this right here, I'm going to save that for, but I'll come back to that. In Australia, they're equipping them with outback people at the cattle stations. They're equipping them with solar and a 72-hour backup with batteries. In February, ABC News had a special report on it of how solar tech was transforming the outback communities. You know, some of these people, they got 300 kilometers just to go to a supermarket. You know, 2 or 3 weeks helps them with the solar to keep their produce and all fresh. You got Saudi Arabia, their desalination plants out there are on typically solar. Qatar, they just started one. Solar desalination plant. You know, they need that. They got to have it. Godsend for them. Me, I'm into agrivoltaics. When they come to me and said, yes, you're going to have a fence around your property, hey, click. I just did an experiment with 56 apple trees. The deer destroyed them. I mean, I had pretty ones destroyed. That failed. That experiment failed. This whole project here is one big experiment for me, because I can get universities. I want berries, fruits, nuts around the perimeter. I want a row to hoe around the whole inside of this fence. And with the Right to Farm Act, if I produce a crop, I'm supposed to get minimum setbacks to produce a crop. And I believe I can do it. From the berries and the nuts trees. You know, that's one big experiment. I'm gonna get universities to come in here, a bunch of universities for the berries, like North Carolina, Arkansas, Georgia. A whole bunch of them got their own berries, their own ones. I'm gonna try putting them together. Here we got a fenced-in area here and a fenced-in area here. I'm gonna say, here, y'all pick one and show me the best berries y'all can produce. Then there's other universities that got the equipment to harvest all this stuff. Hey, I'm gonna bring them in too. I got 40 years. You know, at the end, I'm gonna have, in 40 years, with my grandkids, they're gonna have an orchard. And what I'm gonna do with the nuts and all, I'm gonna have parent trees. You know, so
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman's got 30 seconds left of his 5 minutes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cruz.
I just want a row to hoe around, and y'all give me minimum setbacks, and y'all can have the best solar farm around. Guaranteed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Johnson.
All right, Robert Hawthorne.
Jesus.
I'm the next best thing. All right, the good news is tonight, you really don't have to hear from me right off the bat.
And yet?
I'm here on behalf of John and Laura Jenkins, and they have given me some words to say, and they have managed to appear here tonight with their lovely daughters and their son-in-law. And so I would like to address you gentlemen on the bench and Daphne up there in the ceiling somewhere with their comments. And they write to you all and say, "Dear members of the Board of Supervisors, my name is John Jenkins, and my wife Laura and I live at 485 Mallory Hill Road. Our family has been in Nottoway County a long time. We farmed our land as long as we could. It was good, honest work, and we were proud of it. But we're retired now. The income we get from the folks who lease our property for farming doesn't come to much anymore. We're thankful for it, but it's not enough to really help us the way it once did. Our children have built their lives, and none of them want to take over the farm. That's just where things stand. When Rocky Ford Solar approached us about using our land, my wife and I thought long and hard about it. We believe this is the best decision for our family and for the future of our property. It gives our land a productive purpose again and provides us with some financial security at a time in life when that matters more than ever. I'll be plain. We're conservative people. We believe that if you own land, you should have the right to decide what to do with it, as long as you're following the rules and being a good neighbor. We're not asking the county to do anything special for us. We're just asking you to respect our right to make a decision about our own property. We also believe this project can help the county. The siting agreement and the future tax revenue matter, and they can make a real difference over time. So I'm asking you to support the Rocky Ford Solar Project and vote in favor of it. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service to this county. Respectfully, John and Laura Jenkins. Now, the bad news is John's letter is probably not long enough to use up the 5 minutes. How much time I got, bud?
You have been talking 2 minutes and 24 seconds.
All right. Well, I'm just going to add a little bit.
So we'll say you're halfway through.
Thank you. Landowner rights, farming, real estate law, those are all my passions. And the Jenkins are the embodiment of why I got on board with representing landowners and developers once I decided that a solar farm had less negative externalities than an actual farm. I became a believer in the revenue for our taxpayers, but more importantly for the opportunities that it gives individual landowners. Farming is a tough living. Most people farm as long as they can. They probably farm longer than they should. And the Jenkins are probably no exception. It's a passion, and people hate to give that up. But at times in our lives, we get to that point. And I don't recall when I was farming or sweating in a tobacco field, none of y'all were there with me, just like I wasn't there with you when you were building your tree stands or running your fences or doing whatever it is that your labors of love are, preparing lesson plans. I wasn't there to help. The Jenkins were the same. When they were up at 3 in the morning, milking cows, bucking hay bales, whatever they had to do to scratch a living, no one was there to help. And now they have an opportunity, now that they can't farm anymore, they have an opportunity to hold on to that farm for their future generations. And as John Jenkins says, it gives a productive purpose. So I ask you to bear that in mind, most of all, when you make your decision on this project and other projects. And I likewise thank all of you for your time.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks,
Hawthorne.
sir.
Thank you, Rob.
You could have helped.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Ellen Jennings, Burkeville. Hello.
Hi, good
Hi, Ms.
evening.
Good
Jennings.
evening.
Hi, how are all y'all?
Good.
I think the rest of the family have said pretty much everything that I wanted to say, so I'm just gonna add that I did my own research on solar projects, and I'm very much for it, and I didn't find anything that left me feeling uncertain about having it on my property. I'm down at the end of Mallory Hill over there. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Connie Reynolds Shine Hurt.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Hurd.
Good evening. We received your letter today.
I've got
We
your letter
received
to
your letter
read.
today. Are you going to read your
Want
letter?
to read your letter?
Yes, I'm going to read it
Okay, good.
Okay.
and
All right.
speak about it if
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. The letter they are speaking of is a letter that we, to Mr. Zotti and the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors, I'm sorry, from Micaiah Vineyard and Winery LLC, Dr. Carl Reynolds Freeman and Connie Reynolds Scheinert. And we are commenting on the Rocky Ford Road LLC rezoning and special exception request for the solar facility and public utility easements. In response to the proposed application for a special exception permit by NW Rocky Ford LLC for 100 megawatt solar farm, we request that the exception application be denied and or amended. A 100 megawatt solar farm is considered an industrial enterprise. Such an immense operation will generate enough electricity to power an area the size of Las Vegas, being able to supply electricity to more than 100,000 homes. The average size of a community solar farm is 10 megawatts. Just the size of this proposed facility is not conducive to any agricultural activity or business being conducted on or along or adjacent to Lone Pine Road. Micaiah Vineyard and Winery, we are a fledgling startup Class 2 farm winery on Micaiah Road. So we are adjacent property. We are not included. We are adjacent to Lone Pine Road. The construction of an industrial solar farm adjacent to a business whose entire operations celebrate the natural environment could completely destroy our future earning potential and the provision of an organic rural experience for our customers. Our immediate concern, however, is the availability of water. In addition to an agricultural business, there are multiple residences in the areas adjacent and along Lone Pine Road. Most residences in this area are served by private bored wells. These wells tend to be less than 50 feet deep, with many being constructed before code revisions. Recently, in 2025, to be exact, wells were dug at 512 Micaiah Road and 474 Micaiah Road in order to find a sufficient water level to sustain just a single-family house. Both sites required well depths of over 550 feet with fracking. At 474 Micaiah Road, we had to dig 2 wells because the first well that was dug 550 feet with fracking did not yield enough water for a single-family home. We had to move location and dig another. Industrial solar farms will require significant water usage for cleaning panels and cooling equipment. The average 100 megawatt industrial solar farm running at 25% capacity will use roughly 2,000 gallons of water daily for routine cleaning. We question the availability of these renewable water sources for the solar farm use. More importantly, we are concerned about the impact of water usage at the proposed industrial solar farm on our residential wells. Currently, the cost to dig a well ranges upwards of $25,000. We would like to request, since this train seems to be moving really fast, we would like to request that adjacent residents be indemnified for when we lose our water, or we have to dig another well, either by Nottoway, the Solar Farm LLC, or Dominion Power, because our water levels are lowering, they're not rising. We do not oppose the use of alternative energy sources, such as solar energy. In fact, I have solar panels on my house. However, any facility constructed in our community should be able to be resized to better serve our community and its needs, and not just that of big business. Please limit this construction to the appropriate residential community size of 10 megawatts. And like I said, we know that we can see that this train is running because we're having a meeting to say yay or nay, before we're having a meeting to discuss if anybody has a problem. So we request that these things be considered for, especially for the adjacent properties. We would like a 250-foot setback, or 500-foot setback from residential properties for solar farm industrial operations. We like a safe buffer for about a half a mile. We would like them to implement natural barriers, such as shrubbery, trees, anything to make the sightlines more amenable. And we're especially concerned with easement sizes, which would be like the amount of space between an adjacent property and a solar property at least. We would like that to be 500 feet to half a mile. And we also expect that they will take care of any noise or visual impairment. So we're not against solar farms, but I do feel like this one might be too big for our community. I understand the financial benefits. I absolutely understand. But we need to be able to coexist, and the water problem is a real problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Woodson Irby.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Woodson Irby from the lower end of the county, Blackstone. I'm here as an advocate and a proponent of the revenue that we will get from this solar installation and this site agreement. I'm also a very strong proponent and advocate of property rights. I will add that I will receive no benefit at all financially from any solar in this county other than as a taxpayer. I'm also a very strong advocate and have been from the beginning that we protect our neighbors. And to protect our neighbors, we have an ordinance that says that we would have a 1,200-foot setback from an occupied dwelling. And I think we need to honor that 1,200-foot setback for the neighbors. I see that we have, I think, 27 locations that are going to be within 600 feet of the equipment for the solar farm. I do not like that at all. I think that we need to honor the 1,200 feet with an exception, and I would ask the board to consider this very strongly, that we have our county attorney to draw up a typical form that would be somewhere here, a designated area here at the courthouse, that a property owner could come and ask for a variance or give a variance of less than 1,200 feet, but no less than 500 feet. I think that the board should designate 500 feet be the absolute minimum that the equipment could be to an occupied dwelling. I think that that form should be notarized, and again, this is a legal matter, but probably be made a part of the deed of that property. I would ask you, we have 160 megawatts left available per ordinance, and that's an approximate number. That
You said 160 left?
I think so. How much has been done with the two smaller?
Oh, you're not counting this 100?
No, not counting this 100.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had the two smaller ones. We had originally 170, so we're at approximately 160, give or take a couple. I think we have plenty of people that are interested in bringing solar to Nottoway County without us ramming this down somebody's throat 300 feet or less from their home. I think we need to consider these people from day one. I have said that I want to make sure that we consider our neighbors and that we be good neighbors. And to do that, I think we need to live by the ordinance that we spent a lot of time developing. And there's other places in this county that we can put this total of 160 megawatts without putting it all up on top of somebody. So I would ask you to consider, we stay with the 1,200 feet unless a property owner is willing to sign a variance to that effect. And even at that point, I don't think we should be within 500 feet of any occupied dwelling with the equipment. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tatum? Dennis Tatum?
Thank you. Well, thank you, Bo, Bill, John. The lady was talking about the water. I've got 4 wells on my property, getting 30 gallons, some 30 plus a minute. That's like 43,000 gallons a day. Solar can have all the water they want. I got 4 ponds on the place. One's 10 acres, one's about 3, and the other 2 about 1 acre. So we're not asking nobody for no water. We're not trying to hurt nobody's water supply. And I think your setbacks need to be around 75 feet because the county's gonna lose a lot of money for 1,200 feet. Another thing, there's a lot of money to this county. And Dickie, I'd like to ask you and Daphne, if you shot down this deal, what plan did y'all have to replace it? That's all I'm asking. If you're here to help the county, help the people in the county to keep the taxes down, what is y'all's plan to help them? Do y'all have an answer for that? If you don't, just say no. If you do, say yes. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tatum.
Thank you.
All right, that was our final speaker on our list. Was there anybody that missed the list that wishes to speak on this matter?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Close the public hearing, 5-0.
I didn't hear Ms. Norton vote.
She did.
Oh, okay.
I heard. All right, we've got the companies in the room, Ampliform. Before our board discussion, is there any points you'd like to clarify? Yeah. This Ms. Rodriguez from Ampliform is going to come up. This just to clear up the board's discussion to make sure that we've got accurate information.
Hello, everybody. Can you
Hello.
hear me okay?
Good evening.
I think one of the more important items that had come up previously is about the water usage. And when a solar project is operational, it's using little to no water. The panels, especially in Virginia, the rain is enough to clean off the dust from them. So just wanted to make it's different dependent on where a solar project is, but because we get enough rainfall in Virginia, that is usually the case. So I thought that was a pretty critical item to clarify.
Mr. Chairman, may I clarify something? When you say little to no, what do you mean by little?
So as technology is improving, the goal is to use no water because that is the least expensive option for a developer. So technology is evolving to use like robotic arms and stuff to clean the panels. So that is where the industry, the direction that it's heading. But,
Any other items? Just that one item?
I think that's the most important. So yes, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got another. Somebody's raising their hand over there behind.
Public hearing's done.
Yeah, they, oh, I can't see who it is. Oh, okay.
We're done, public hearing. All right, so we're going to have board discussion. Everybody go ahead and turn, and we'll see some changes in your site agreement. And I'll remind the board that there are two other pieces to this. There's a performance agreement, and then there's the special exception permit. And so the special exception permit is the final approval, which allows them to begin. And that is where you can really have a lot of detail punched in there in regards to setbacks. I think there was some discussion in the email today about addresses or tax maps.
Right.
Just to be more clear for the
Specific.
citizens. We've got maps, and so if you look at the map and you're familiar with the area, you can see where things are. But to even be more clear, there was discussion about parcel numbers, which I think is probably the best,
Right.
most accurate, be parcel number. But that would be for the special exception permit, have that list. And then there's still some more surveying. In their maps, it talks about that, this is from computers, this is from this, there's still additional surveying to be done. So the special exception permit would require that detailed view prior to that vote. And if they didn't do it, then we don't have to vote, or we can say no.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a couple of things I want to bring up. Number one, I came into the administrative office, I guess it was last week or week before, to talk to Ms. Lewis, and I found Ms. Lewis on the computer actually doing the work that Ampliform should have been doing. She was trying to find these sites, and I was trying to help her, and Ampliform was giving her one thing, and she couldn't find it, and it was not complete. And I don't know why this county would be required to do their work. I don't understand that.
Who is Miss Lewis, Mr. Daniel?
Ms.
Kelly. Right over there.
That's her maiden name.
Kelly.
Kelly, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was saying.
I'm thinking about when I taught her in school. I'm sorry.
Well,
My fault.
Well, let me say, Ms. Ingram, I want you to keep, because I do want to clarify that, because people have come to the office, and this might be a question for Ampliform before we vote. But I think that exhibit had showed circles that was 300 feet from inhabitable dwellings on one of those exhibits. And the question came up to me, when I go down, when you get on Lone Pine and right when you get on Mallory Creek Road, I had to go meet Mr. Ellett out there. And
Now you're talking about Harper Road.
that's Harper Road.
Harper
I'm sorry.
Road.
Excuse me, Harper Road. Thank you, Mr. Ingram, but I've gotten people confused already. But right when you get on Harper Road, there's a house, a habitable dwelling on the left, but that's not a circle. Is that something that's going to happen later? Because it's not, because Mr. Ellett's property is on there, but that house, that first house on the left is not there.
That's right.
Is that something that's going to happen? And I can point it to you to the map, but people come to my office and ask me, and I don't know how to answer the question.
I think what he's asking is, it's not
the
going to
map
be built in
complete?
a circle.
Is the map
It's going to be
complete?
built in straight angles and stuff like that, so it needs to be more well defined.
This one right here that we're talking about is going to be right next to this project.
Right.
I mean, right next to it. And it's not even on here.
I guess I'm asking, is the map complete?
Come on up to the mic, sir.
Right.
The name is Tiro Anyam from Ampliform. Just to address your particular question, those discrepancies that Mr. Ingram is pointing out and you were pointing out, that's customary depending on the source of the data you're using. GIS,
Okay.
Google Earth, publicly recorded data, all of that will be reconciled.
Okay.
When we get to the SCP.
And I did look on, we call him Tito. Tito had been in the office so many times. You look on the Google Earth, you really can't see the house because there's trees over it. But if you go on the road, there's a house there. Mm-hmm. And that's when people come in the office and say, well, how come that house is not there, Steve? And so really, it hadn't been complete. I mean, it's more things need to be reconciled.
This is very customary. This is normal. These are conceptual drawings at this stage. In fact, when we go through both the SCP as well as the site plan, a lot more details will be unveiled. And but ultimately, we'll respect the Exhibit C that is in the siting agreement, which is what we're calling for your vote tonight. Right. So, but do keep in mind, what's being called to question tonight is the siting agreement that has the Exhibit C. So depending on your vote tonight, when we get to the SEP, further details and further reconciliation of those discrepancies will take place.
So you go deeper to it.
And there, for the citizens, the special exception permit does require another public hearing.
Absolutely.
So as this data gets refined and more accurate, there is another opportunity for the public to have
Absolutely,
input.
absolutely. The SCP, as well as even after the SCP, we still have even further details for the site plan in itself.
Okay.
So a lot of all these nuances will be clarified in absolute detail. So there's plenty of more opportunities. But it's customary, you know, depending on this data source you use, whether it's GIS, like I said, Google Earth, but then again, ultimately you have to reconcile it with the surveyed map in the county registry. So that's normal. But at this stage, conceptual layout, but regardless of what you vote on today, if you do approve it, we hope you do, we have to stick at minimum with what has been represented there and continue to refine it and improve.
Refine it, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you,
We're
sir.
not voting on this thing tonight, are we?
Yes,
This site agreement?
yes, because there's two more parts, really three more parts.
This is just the first step.
Well, what I'm saying to you is, I've got this thing in front of me, and how can you vote on something when you're not sure exactly what it is?
I've studied this thing, we've all studied this thing. The only thing's different than what we've been studying for 6 months is
what we added.
Exhibit C.
What's that?
Is Exhibit C.
Well, we added the
Well, I hadn't seen Exhibit C.
It's not, you didn't get it today?
You've had the maps.
This thing, if you can tell me what that thing shows, you're a better man than I am.
It's some language mentioned in there that
On the
really
right is
says.
your
what-
language about which houses are where and how far they are.
Well, it says 13 non-participating builders are no less than 280 feet. 14 no less than 380 feet.
That's part of our discussion tonight, Mr.
Yep.
Ingram.
What I'm saying to you is, I don't feel comfortable voting on something when I'm not exactly sure what it is. And the adjoining landowners, I think, when Ms. Reynolds, I'm going to use your maiden name, Connie, because I taught you to. When she came up, this is the first that I've heard anything from her. And so I'm thinking some people that do not know that their property adjoins this project, and they have not been contacted.
I think most of them been contacted.
Most, but not all.
Due diligence was done to contact all of them. I've had that expressed to me several times.
You've contacted everybody.
We have provided communication and also multiple opportunities for adjoining landowners. We've had two, what is it called? Community meetings, open houses, invited them. And Mr. Ingram, this is very normal. At this stage, this is zoning, right? That's why conceptual plans is perfectly normal, it's zoning. And then as we get straight, when you want further details, you'll get it at the site plan. But first, we have to get zoning approval. That's what the step is required. And quite frankly, right now, we're only asking for your approval on the siting agreement. Further details, further engineering will happen as we go through the site plan process. That's perfectly customary at this stage of the game.
It's a couple more parts to it to make it doable. And I'd like to, you got anything else, Tito?
No.
I'd like to address the young lady on the rainfall too. I've got 4 dry wells on about 500 acres. They 600 feet each. We water a lot of cattle out of them. Tonight we're going through water issues because we're pulling off of 2 wells. We didn't always have that trouble. And it's causing us a lot of pain to water our cattle and for our house. But I truly believe that this won't affect a solar place will not affect your water capabilities. If anything else, it may help it because they're going to have several basins throughout the area of the project that's catching water, that if they need water, they can use water runoff out of these basins. And the average rainfall is somewhere around 45 to 50 inches in Virginia. And if you go out west, they produce bigger crops, but they have to irrigate it because a lot of those places are a lot less than half of that. So we're blessed. We need some rain right now. We're blessed for that. And I'd also like to address the cap that Mr. Abbott was mentioning. I don't even know which attorney responded to him, so I can't defend the attorney, so I'm not trying to defend it, him or her. But without the reason they couldn't answer that accurately, and I've studied this thing through and through and through for months, is you don't know what the reassessed value will be. So there's no way that you can put a dollar amount without knowing what the reassessed value will be.
Well,
Each 4 years, we went from 6 down to 4, if y'all remember correctly.
Right.
correct, but the revenue share is what the grant is made up of, and that is because we're receiving the $8 million up front. And so that is capped, it's limited here. Mr. Abbott didn't see it, I guess.
Yeah, but
It's capped at $140,000.
I'm talking about the
Per
cap
year.
he was mentioning about as far as the taxes over the 25 years that we've been
Right,
discussing.
that
Yeah,
piece.
that's what I'm talking
that's
about.
Every
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. you're
And I'm
gonna
not
reassess.
sure Sonny is taking into consideration the money that we're receiving up front ahead of its time, the interest that it's going to save, which is going to run into the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So the grant funds is the $140,000.
Right.
Which is the $1,400 that Virginia code requires us to collect in lieu of taxes. On the equipment, on the material and tools. So that's $140,000 if they come up with 100 megawatts. We're receiving those funds upfront to use on our project. So we don't have to borrow money, as much money. We have to borrow some for the courthouse. So that's the value for us.
We have studied this thing a lot. Tito, I've called you in the middle of the night with questions about it. Yes. And you too, Bobby. And to you, Mr. Irby, it's not legal for us, we've found out, to adopt an ordinance specific to require a waiver from adjacent landowner. We can't legally do that. I thought the same thing. I thought that would be great, but you can't do that.
So a landowner can't request that it be less than the ordinance?
A landowner, we can't adopt an ordinance that would require a waiver to be signed by an adjacent landowner to let them come down from under 500, 300, 200 feet, whatever it may be. In this
Did you
case,
get that from Catherine?
I did.
Catherine, can you swap with, I'm sorry, Tito, making you sit up and down.
We're trying to be as transparent as we can, so I'm glad.
So we discussed the waiver idea, and that was gonna be a payment. If a landowner wanted to have a waiver, they could receive some funds, is my understanding. But
Be
tell
optional.
us about that.
So the issue with the waiver is what I advised against you guys is to require waivers for the setback requirement in lieu of, basically, so you wouldn't have to make a decision yourselves. So you don't want to delegate your legislative authority to a taxpayer to basically say, we agree with this. So I was cautioning you all about requiring waivers in lieu of making a decision regarding the setbacks.
It wasn't illegal.
It won't illegal do it. In this setbacks, 300 foot there's 6 or either 7 property owners to habitable dwellings that would be under 300 foot.
13.
I thought it was 7.
Well, I'm looking at.
My old chart, my chart I looked at the last
Chart.
meeting that's in my truck said it's, I think 7. But anyway.
It's 13 under 400 feet, I think.
Yeah, I'm talking about under 300 feet. What does it say there?
I can't see it, but I think it was 13, there's 14 from 400 to 600.
Right. So we was hoping to be able to have that waiver process you speaking of till we found out that it's not legal. We just can't do that. So they gotta stay within whatever feet we agreed to, which is in this citing agreement. Can he come back up, Mr. Chairman?
No, it's a public hearing. I mean, the public hearing's over.
Is it illegal?
It's not illegal. She was cautioning us about not
It
using
somewhat
our
is
authority.
illegal.
Well, and you might be able to speak to this better, but I advised against it because you don't want a waiver in the essence of even making a decision on like a special use permit. So you can't say, I'm requiring these people to get a waiver before I make a decision. The signing agreement, I felt, was similar to that in the sense of where we didn't want to make a decision based on these people's waivers, and that's why I cautioned against it, because I didn't want to do anything that would.
Okay.
And she and I actually spoke about this, and there's a case from the Virginia Supreme Court called Fleet, I believe, County of Fairfax v. Fleet Industrial Park Limited Partnership, and that case has to do with a situation where the zoning would allow people to do certain things if they got a waiver from their neighbors and to do something different if they didn't. And that was struck down because what the court said was that the person who gets to decide what your zoning is going to be is your Board of Supervisors, not your neighbors. And that was what the Supreme Court of Virginia's conclusion.
So that was an actual court case.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. In your citing agreements, you'll see some things that they are highlighted. And these are changes. Mr. Toth wanted to make sure that we encouraged agrivoltaics, which Mr. Jennings was talking, we talked on the, I think we did some texting, he was talking about grazing, and then tonight he was talking about berries and nut trees. So this land, for him, might produce two different incomes of somebody that's willing to put to work. So that's agrivoltaics. 1.13, I'd like the board to discuss this one. This is cap priority. I spoke with Ampliform about it. They've applied and requested for 100 megawatts. They'd like to withhold that approval of 100 megawatts for them. Looks like for 2 dates. Reserve it until such time as the development of the project is abandoned with finality. But then it also has, if as of the commercial operations date, the nameplate capacity of the project is less than 100 megawatts, the reserved megawatts shall be decreased to the actual nameplate capacity of the project on such date. So there's two kind of
rewording, yep.
The second part I agree with. Once you're running and you're done developing, then that's your megawatts. We do 2.6. We did reserve the county's ability to match fines that are awarded to the DEQ to be paid to Nottoway County, up to but not excluding the amount of the DEQ fine. That would help us fix any problems that may exist for neighbors. Okay, that's the only changes that I see. The highlighted ones. I know there was discussion among the members about the setback and those closer neighbors. Does anybody want to talk about any numbers that they had in mind that they would be comfortable with in the siting agreement?
Well, I've all along, when we finally came up with an ordinance, we had a couple of things that we had, and one of them was the 1,200 feet. And one of them, I think, was 800 feet. And we've approved 2 small projects. And we might as well throw the ordinance away, because we've ignored it both times. So, I mean, I'm with Mr. Irby. 500 feet,
Well, the ordinance allows us on site dimension and topography to make adjustments.
Well,
and you can't, nothing is square. And you take a 12.
Nothing's flat either.
Nothing's flat.
This project is definitely not flat.
And it's, it's not straight lines. I want you to remember that these folks, this is private land. This is their land. And this is what they want to do with their land.
Somebody that's not just inherited the land, and theirs is just as much theirs as somebody that bought the land, but I've rode through the project area several times, and I know probably each one of y'all have. And something came to my mind the other day as I was riding through there. I said, I worded it a whole lot better when I was thinking versus saying it. I said, but what benefit does it benefit somebody who's riding down the road that looks over to somebody else's place? What benefit did it see the Jenkins, John and Tommy milking cows with the lights on at 4 o'clock in the morning? That was their decision. That was their benefit. They decided to do that. They could have signed up for welfare if they wanted to and not done either one. And probably sometimes during his life, he probably thought, as I too was a dairy farmer, that would have been beneficial for some assistance from welfare. But what I'm saying is, what benefit is it to somebody else to see, like we had a place out of the West come in here, Wisconsin, that didn't want the nativity scene at Sea Park in Blackstone. Okay, well, don't look over at the nativity scene if you don't like it. Same way with the solar panels. If I want to do something, Nottoway County told me I couldn't put hog houses on my place. But they're all for agriculture, but you don't put no hog houses. It's the same thing with this right here, this solar project. If you tell somebody they can't do it, do they own the land or does the government continue to own the land? Do I want solar on my place? If it helped me out financially and I needed it, or I was ready to retire and do something differently, it should be my option if I want it. Bad thing about it is I ain't near any transmission lines to have in it. So,
You know, the transmission lines having to go through my district.
in fact, we was talking about Long Pine Road. I own some property up here on Long Pine Road. Said I'm gonna see the solar panel from my property. It's not coming to my property, but I'm gonna be able to see it.
State law set right now.
Well, you know, Bo, you're talking about driving along a road. I'm not talking about driving along a road. I'm talking about somebody looking at their backyard, and there it is. That's what I'm talking about.
I think
And you live here, and somebody comes within 75 feet of your property and puts up a fence and got that stuff there, and you walk out your back door, and there it is.
But I can put a fence line up on the line, not 75 foot from the line, but on the line. And I can turn all the cattle in there I want to turn, and flies come in there and eat them people up.
Oh, look,
and it stinks like cow manure.
We had chicken farm and.
But I can do that, but these solar people can't put nothing that don't cause no flies, no stink or nothing else, and they got to stay 75 foot back. I call bull crap on it myself, but.
Catherine or our other attorney, there was legislation that, did it make it to the governor's desk in regards to local control on solar?
I don't know whether it's been signed yet. I know it did make it to her desk.
Which would mean, Bill is talking about, if we don't adopt anything, then they do it for us, just like they did the biosolid for Nottoway County. And with the administration that's up there now, they guaranteed to do it, and y'all all got to agree to that.
So if it's on the governor's desk, she doesn't have to sign it. She can just let it sit, and then it'll be approved.
What was the setbacks on it? Do y'all remember?
For the state part of it, I'm not sure.
75,
It's 75?
off everything,
Property line and
everything,
habitable?
I believe.
Won't be no flies, Mr. Ingram. I'm not trying to piss you off. I love you to death.
It won't go into effect until July 1.
Is that right?
If she signs it.
July 1. So
She
we're
doesn't
about
have
4
to
months
sign
from
it.
it.
Huh?
She didn't have to sign it
I
to
know
get it
that.
approved. I don't know who made that rule.
What else y'all got to talk about before I put the motion on the floor to adopt this thing?
Well, if you go to your page that's got the habitable dwelling setbacks, it shows us some numbers. We're missing the number that was less than 300, and I know at least Mr. Rourke, I think, was not comfortable with being under 300. I know that, you didn't like that. I think Mr. Toth, you were questioning that
I didn't like it
also?
either. I was.
All right.
Now, I was the one that thought, well, actually, I think it was you, John, that said, what about a waiver, whether they want to,
Right.
they might monitor it or just say, you know what, I'm all for it because it's going to create 300 or 400 jobs over the next few years for our county, taxes.
All right, there's a couple, I'd like to have something cleared up, and I might have Bobby Rodriguez come up. So in our setback range, it talks about two different things, between 300 to 400 feet to edge of project equipment, no less than 280 feet to the project fence.
And I can answer part of that. The no less than 200 feet, 280 feet to the project fence is because there's 20 feet, roughly 20 feet, it ain't roughly, it is 20 feet between the fence and the solar panel. Isn't that correct, Bobby?
Okay. All right, and there's, of course, there's the buffer, the vegetative buffer up against the fence, before the fence. All right. So when you make your motion, Bo, if you were going to make it.
Mr. Chairman, did Ms. Norton have anything, or is she?
Are you there, Ms. Norton?
Is she asleep?
Yes, I am. I was getting ready to say something.
Okay, you go ahead.
The thing that really bothers me, and I was glad that Makaja Vineyards was present tonight. I talked to them today about the wells, and I'm glad Bobby cleared that up. The habitable dwellings, there's 35 of them that are non-participating buildings. So to me, that's forcing those that choose not to participate to, for lack of a better word, suck it up and deal with it. That's just, I just don't agree with that. But I do believe in landowner rights, but these 35 non-participating, they are going to have to participate because when they open the door, they're going to have to look at it unless they move. But it's just a lot of moving parts still. I'm concerned about the accuracy. I'm glad you clarified that we do have another document to clarify accuracy because the measurements right now are not, there's too many discrepancies.
Well, even the county GIS, I find errors in it just in my daily work.
They'll
So
tell
that-
you it's plus or minus 1.
Yeah, so that is an accurate statement that if you're using some of that, it does have errors in it, so.
That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you.
I want
Mr.
to
Williams.
ask about the 35 non-participants. There's no,
It's on the sheet in our package.
but when you say non, you talk about,
Dwelling setbacks, number of non-participating buildings, and then it gives the number 13,14,9. That total of 35 is up to from 300 to 800 feet.
but what I want defined is, and maybe I
Not participating, but they're going to be on the side of the project.
so Bobby Tito, a non-participating building is that of which somebody owns a building that's not within the project, is that what you're saying? Only 35? You talking about specific to adjacent landowners, right? Correct?
Well, it's more than 35 if you go up to 1,200, because there's another 16 that's 800 to 1,000, and another 18 that's 1,000 to 1,200.
Right, so
35 or less than 800 feet.
what are you calling a building? What are y'all calling a building, Tito?
Right, and, this is part of what I mean in terms of, it could be structure, it could be an abandoned structure, it could be.
Old barn.
It could be old chicken house,
It could be a garage.
but it's not a habitable dwelling.
That's correct, and this is partly what I mean, it depends on the source you're also using to look at it as well. So, but all of these discrepancies will continue to firm them up as we move through the process.
Forward, right.
So if we say tonight, we're gonna be so many feet from a habitable dwelling, then they know where to spend their time and money
Sizing it up.
investigating and giving the details of this parcel, this parcel, this parcel.
Yes, so this is the starting point. And we've always listened to the community concerns and your desires. And you can vouch to that. Everything you've asked for, we've looked for ways to make it happen. And we'll continue to do that through the process. So this is not the end of it. It's just a starting point. But once we get going with this, we know we can't do any lesser than what we have here. So we have to work from this point on. So we'll provide a lot more clarity by the SCP. Even after that, we'll provide a lot more clarity when we get to the site plan.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I just
Thank you,
wanted to be sure that the buildings was what I thought.
And for the water issues, these things are installed in Arizona where there's no water. They don't need much water. They don't even need water, quite frankly. Whenever there's major soiling, there's other ways to bring in water to desoil the panels. But
You're gonna have all them basins, you can use them as well.
use the basins as well, and he's got plenty of water on his property. But these things are installed in deserts. They don't need water. They're not like data centers where you need cooling water, right? So a lot of water is usually used for cooling. And that's one of the beautiful things about solar. Very minimal intrusions and invasions to the environment. So no concerns here when it comes to water depletion, quite frankly. So I'll leave it at that.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir, Mr. Rourke.
I'm a man of very few words.
You are.
Yeah.
Could have fooled me.
It's,
Sometimes.
I'll go back to when this thing started. And I've always said, we're never going to get to a real decision until we go through the process. We've yet to go through the process. This is one more step to go through the process to decide whether or not to do it. And to keep hanging up, it's just failing the people to know whether we can or can't. I say, let's roll.
Mr. Ingram, to yours and my satisfaction, I like your 500-foot idea. It will restrict it to where it won't be doable from everything that I've studied about it. But if I thought that you would support it, if we done it at 500 foot, then it would just have to lower the megawatts, because I really like your support, believe it or not. I do. But I don't want to put you on the spot and ask you, if it was 500, would you vote a yes for it?
From a habitable dwelling?
Yes. On the overall solar coming to Nottoway County in the locality that's being presented, would you don't answer that, Mr.
We've
Ingham.
capped it at 170. I want somebody to answer me this. So this 100 megawatts product's too big. Let's say Bo and I had farms right next to each other. He does 10 megawatts, I do 10 megawatts, Dickie does 10 megawatts, John does 10 megawatts, you're at 40, and you didn't get a site agreement? They could just go do 10 megawatt?
Spending time.
So you can get to 100 megawatts without this.
Bust up a whole lot more other land right now and affect a whole lot more residents.
I don't see how.
Well, if you think about the 5 acres required to have a resident in the county, and you visualize you got 15 acres of pasture land or corn land or whatever, and they each required to have 5 acres, when those 3 houses could have been put on less than half of that and keep farming the rest of it, you just messed the rest of it up. I look at it being the same way, and we need to go to work on that in the next work session too.
Well, I've had people tell me they like to have 10 acres in the rural residential.
It would completely devastate the agriculture for Nottoway County. The 5 acre, you remember, and we ain't gonna get in the weed. I'm just trying to use a parable to this.
You guys have already stepped over in the weeds.
No, I'm using this as a parable to this.
Get the swing blade, we're gonna get rid of the weeds.
Hell, y'all need a bush
Bert Allen's
hog.
place out there on
Oh, yeah,
Robinson Road?
absolutely.
Okay, prime example. That man absolutely loved the land.
That's right.
All them houses moved in there was required to have 5 acres, totally ruined it, and you could have put them on less than half what they was on, and it could have been kept farming. But that's not the way it was.
Well, Mr. Allen wasn't around when that happened, was he?
No, he won't.
That's what I'm saying.
And he was not around when it happened, and he left it to somebody that.
Mr. Rourke, I think they digress, I think. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Do you digress, Mr. Rourke? I digress.
Yeah. But
All right, so we've had our public hearing, we've had a discussion, we've had answers from our attorneys, we've had answers from the project developer of the Ampliform project. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt this solar facility siting agreement presented to us from Ampliform on this 9th day of April, the date's left blank, of 2026.
Second.
I'd like to add one thing to that, and that was number, in regards to them reserving, so 1.13, they only get what they have in commercial operations at the end of the production date.
It says here, if as of the commercial operation date as defined below, the nameplate capacity of this project is less than 100 megawatts, the reserve megawatts shall be decreased.
To that actual nameplate capacity. So I would strike the part that says abandoned with finality. You can't say it 2 different ways. So when it goes into operation, that's the capacity that is Ampliform's.
Right, okay.
So we got to.
You want your motion to stand with his adjustment?
Mr. Chairman, do you, I just want to make sure, Mr. Chairman, do you want to make sure that that's,
Wait a minute,
that's law?
wait a minute,
That's right,
legal, that's right, that's right. The attorneys would like to speak on that. Come on up, Jared.
Damn, Bo knows them all by first name.
I've been studying this thing, man. I ain't lying. I'm gonna do what I think is really good for the county.
You guys don't
before I
want to
do
see
it.
me stand up at the end of a hearing again, but happened last time. But thanks for inviting me up. Jared Burden, Green Herlocker, work with Ampliform. Yeah, to Chairman Collins, to address your point, these are 2 different concepts. What the abandon with finality language is it's meant to say that putting aside whether we might say we go less than 100 to something else. That's a separate point. If we go along, we're being developed, it's a 100 megawatt project. The whole time that we're pursuing the project, developing the project, get the project built. If we're 100 megawatts, what this provision is saying is that we get that 100 megawatts reserved to us.
You don't want us to give some of your 100 megawatts to somebody else while you're in development.
Right. And then say it's built and it is 100 megawatts, we obviously get those 100 megawatts for the life of the project. The abandoned with finality means that if we were to step away from the project and go away, then.
It's not yours.
Then it's not your okay.
And the second part it's an accommodation. It's saying that, and it's kind of stating what is practical common sense.
Okay, well, I understand
we end up being less than 100.
it's a several-year process, so I understand that we've got another application, so we're gonna get close to our cap. So I understand that you wanna make sure that during development, you've got your goal of 100.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so if we got a cap of 170, y'all don't want to be fighting for 100 and we give 50 of your megawatts away.
Yeah, we.
That's fair.
Basically, yeah, it is fair.
All right, I'll remove that from the discussion then.
Okay, so
we
my-
got a first and a second.
So, yep, my motion stands and we had a
My
second.
second stands.
All right, we're gonna have a roll call, Mr. Bone. We're gonna do it correctly. Can you please do a roll call?
Sir, Mr. Chairman, we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Bo Toth to approve the Amplifor and siting agreement that's in front of you, and with a proper second by Mr. John Rourke. Roll call, we will go through this. How do you vote, Mr. Rourke, yea or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Dick Ingram?
No.
Ms. Daphne Norton?
No.
Mr. Vice Chairman Toth?
Yay.
Mr. Chairman Collins?
Yay.
Mr. Collins, Chairman Collins, this motion is passed 3-2 for approve the Amplifor and siting agreement.
Thank you. Next is going to be the solar performance agreement. The most difficult part of that is understanding the $1,400 per megawatt going back to them due to the prepayment of the $8 million. You guys want to have discussion on it? This doesn't require, we can just do this by vote. There's no public hearings.
Right. I think you have to give me permission to sign it and a resolution to adopt, but I would like for you to utilize our attorneys here tonight if you got questions.
We not necessarily have to take a vote on this tonight unless Mr. Ingram absolutely wants to. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
I don't mind if everybody wants to sit and read it, and then we got a meeting next week. It can go on the agenda there, just as a.
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen it.
Okay, so Mr.
Why don't we just move this aside till next week, because this don't require public,
Right.
Doesn't take a public hearing.
Before we decide, let me just, can we look at the clock real quick? And I need help from, I almost call her Miss Lewis, Miss Kelly. Miss Kelly, we got another public hearing at 24. Can you help me out with that clock? All right, does this matter?
this don't require advertisement, Steve.
Okay, but this, okay, it doesn't matter.
This don't require.
Okay. All right, just making sure I understand before we move on.
Is that correct? This does not require advertisement? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I know, Mr. Ingram, I read it one time today.
I'd like to read about 6.
You want me to put it in the board package
Let's put it in the board package for next week.
Okay.
And everybody's got it, so they can read it, and then we'll have a discussion and a vote on it next Thursday.
Do we need to put it in the board package or to save some wood, some paper? Just keep this one, this is ours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put it on the agenda?
Just put it on the agenda,
Yes,
okay.
sir, okay. But I think we need two things, according to what I talked to Ms. Kelly today. You gotta give me the authority to sign the solar performance agreements, and also to adopt the resolution of the performance agreement, from my understanding.
Okay.
All right. It's two things.
If everybody's more comfortable with that, then it'll be on our
I am.
agenda next Thursday, next week.
Mr. Chairman, no further business on my end.
Okay. Oh, we got to the end.
Yes, sir.
Comments from members of the board. Vice Chairman Toth?
Are we holding these to the 1 minute like we talked about? I don't really have none. I don't want no 5. I don't want but 1. I studied this thing exclusively. Anybody that works with solar, for solar, or attorneys that represent the county knows that I have. I made the best decision as far as thus far adopting the siting agreement. I'm not gonna put the county at risk in my heart, you know, in someone else's heart, it may be that I did. But I'm not going to. We got a whole lot left to do to get this project up and going. But I think it's gonna be really good for the economy for Nottoway County, both short-term and long-term. And it's really good to see somebody that has worked for their land, earned their land, to be able to do something that they desire to do with the land. That's it. I stayed way within my 1 minute. I asked each of you to do the same. No, I'm playing.
Mr. Ingram?
I've always, I've been accused of being anti-solar. I'm not anti-solar, I'm pro-neighbor. And I was contacted by a lot of people in this area. This is my district pretty much. And I rode through there today just to look. There's signs say no to industrial solar on Rocky Ford. There's signs to say no industrial solar on Harbor Road. There's signs to say no industrial on Lone Pine Road. There's signs to say no industrial solar on 49. So if you think about the people who have, I think when we had the first meeting about this and the vote was screwed up, people gave up. So that's why they're not here tonight. I contacted a gentleman. I said, you might want to come tonight. Maybe some people are going to talk about it. Well, I don't see any need. My people say there's no need to come anymore. They made up their mind, and that's what's going to happen. That's what I'm hearing, that nobody listened to them. So, I mean, if you think about it, the area that I live in, right now, there's been 3 solar projects approved, and they're all in my area. People in Blackstone come up and say, oh, let's do this. Yeah, because it's not in Blackstone. It's out in District 1, and where most of the land is, and most of the farm, a lot of farms in District 1, or, and so that's why I vote the way I vote. I voted no tonight because of the people that have contacted me and did not want this to go through. I've known a lot of them all my life. I've driven those roads all my life, and I've lived out there pretty much all my life. And so I talked to a gentleman who worked with solar, worked for a solar company. He told me, he said, Dickie, this is a bad project. And the reason why is because it's so spread out. If you get on, come out of 49, take a right on Lone Pine Road, you can almost go to 723 to Lewiston Plank Road. It's going to be all along that road. And then you got Rocky Ford come in, and then you got Robinson Sighton Road. So it's taken up a lot of space. They say 1,300 acres, but you think about how many actual acres it's affecting. It's a whole lot more than 1,300. And people, I think over 240 adjoining landowners that this is being plopped on them, like Daphne said. So I mean, that's the way I voted, the reason why I voted the way I voted.
I respect that.
Yes, sir. Supervisor Rourke?
Well, first of all, this project is not an option if it wasn't for the property owners saying that they want to do it with their property. The government is already too invasive on property owner rights. Like you said, they told you, Bo, not to do something with agricultural in an agricultural area, and now these property owners feel like they're trying to protect their legacies without selling their land. There's still, processes to go through. This is not a firm approval.
No.
And I think that gets lost on a lot of people, and they feel defeated, like you're talking about, Mr. Ingram, but at the end of the day, this is not a firm approval. This is another step trying to get closer through the process to see what it's going to be like. Early on, I mentioned something about raising taxes with the previous board. Everybody that was sitting in this room raised their hand. Yes, raise my taxes instead of letting this come through. The last time I asked that question, not one person raised their hand. And that was just a few months ago. And this may sound abrasive, and it's not the intent, it's just an honest question. Does the anti-solar or the people that don't want to see this come,
is there any option for y'all to go to the landowners, find a use for the land, pay the landowners, and generate revenue for the county? That's my question. Without having an answer, I'm not going to trample on people's rights to use their property. I still also warned years ago about eminent domain. That's on your doorstep. You won't have to worry about this. Even like the chairman said, if she doesn't sign the document, it will go through. And then the next step is if they don't get enough to generate what they need, will be eminent domain. That's the next thing to come. And I believe Mr. Hawthorne early on years ago warned of that as well. And it's on your doorstep. So all this infighting with the neighbors, and Mr. Ingram, I've always told you I applaud you standing firm on your beliefs, and I applaud that. You know, and you've never probably not had a decent night's sleep because you're an honorable man, but I applaud you for that. And it's difficult because the intrusiveness of state national politics has infiltrated this county and everywhere else, and it's become ugly, and the neighbors are always at neighbors. This is just something else. But with eminent domain coming, I caution what their fight is right now. Next year is an election cycle. What's going to happen, folks, and I'm going to tell you now, this is going to happen next year. You will find candidates that want to open the entire county to the 13 viable percent because there's no other revenue, and the previous boards have not utilized what revenue was available at the 170. That is going to happen. You are going to have the candidates run next year on opening 13% of the total county acreage available to stop the tax revenue. Mark my word, it's going to happen. It won't be this guy, but it's going to happen. The word's already out there. And Mr. Bowen and board members, when are we going to get together and do some budget cuts?
Coming up.
I'd love to see that.
Well, we cut one tonight. 53 acres.
Which one?
53 acres.
That's right. Let's do some more budget cuts, guys. Let's see what we can do. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Supervisor Norton.
Yes, gentlemen. I want to thank those in the public that came to speak tonight, their concerns and their support about the Rocky Ford Solar Project. One of the things that scared me, or one of the supporters mentioned and compared it to an experiment. And that's basically what it is, because it's new here. It's an experiment. But to what end? That's what bothers me, because we're talking about our natural resources. I believe in landowner rights, but I'm definitely pro-citizen because that's what we were elected to do. And I have talked to a multitude, because I also represent this area in District 3, Rocky Ford, Lone Pine, Falls Road. The majority of the people that I've talked to around this project are not in support of it. They're not anti-solar. And as Dickie said, I have as well spoken to some solar project workers, and they have told me that this is a less than desirable project. It has grown exponentially. If it had stayed smaller, I'd have felt more comfortable. I also understand the magnitude of the current legislation, the governor's desk, that eminent domain, as John mentioned, is in our future. They may take away our county's freedom to control setbacks, etc. But tonight's no vote was the majority of the people that I've talked to over the last months are not in support of this project. It's not I'm against those who choose to be a part of the project. I've known these people a long time, and I believe in their landowner rights. But I also don't want to shove things down the neighbors' throats that don't want to be a part of it. But I also understand the magnitude and the need of the money we have coming in our coffers and the lack of. So we all agree to disagree, and we still stand. But I think the most important thing tonight is the citizen participation, and that we do stand for the citizens we represent. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ms. Norton. I'm really just more informational. On the 14th, The supervisors have separate meetings with the contractors for the courthouse, at which time I believe we'll find out what the proposed cost is going to be. So that's this week. On your county website, the schematics and the layout of the new building are available on your county website. Look for courthouse, click on it, and you'll be able to zoom in and see what we're being presented on the 14th by English Construction. So that'll give us an idea of what the upcoming expense is. I appreciate everybody that came and spoke tonight. We had a pretty good room. It's always gratifying to have people come and let us know their feelings. So that's all I have. With that, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, stand up. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Ms. Norton.
Peace and chicken grease, everyone.
Is the solar performance agreement on the website?